Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks. Uber, Snapchat, Tinder, and Facebook and Instagram. How American relationship is dissolving under the pressure of apps. So we talking. Turn that beat up a little bit for me. So, you know we do this by questions, but I got somebody in the studio. Y'all know him. Y'all love him. Zoe Williams, relationship expert, author of the... Yeah, that's you. Author of the Relationship Dismount, author of a great CD, Love Matters Revealed, new book coming out. Tell them a little bit about the new book.
The Holographic Relationship. I mean, you can go to my website and pre-order a copy right now. It's the follow-up to the Relationship Dismount, How to Stick the Landing When Exiting a Toxic Relationship, which is available on Amazon.com, paperback and Kindle. But the Holographic Relationship is a deeper, more philosophical, introspective look at relationship. We get caught up with the sociological standards and benchmarks we're supposed to reach, and a lot of times we totally are oblivious to the spiritual aspect of relationship, and the Holographic Relationship will definitely cover that. Go to my website, iamzowilliams.com, and pre-order your copy now.
Yeah, we in here. You know Tone Talks ain't gonna leave y'all this Friday. We've been talking politics so long, it's time to have a discussion about something a little more sexy. We gonna be talking today. We talking about Uber, Snapchat, Tinder, Facebook, and Instagram. Give y'all a chance to call in a second. Let me set it up. Y'all know we do this by questions. Number one, are social media and technology breaking down the basic boundaries of social relationship? Keep that beat up. For Americans, you know, I brought Zoe for a particular reason because I want to talk about how people, particularly our people, but generally Americans, they ain't got the boundaries for these social media apps, and we're going to get into what they do to you, how they break you down. Number two, what is the consequence of Uber on basic boundaries of work hours? And what is considered okay for work to ask of you? Using your car to pick somebody out up at 3 a.m.? Come on, talking to a stranger at their request? They want to talk about broccoli and Brussels sprouts? What does it mean psychologically and socially having no control over your own stuff? Number three, does Snapchat and its short videos make people crazily live 8 seconds at a time? How many of y'all can't enjoy an event because you always taking 8-second videos? Come on, we getting into it. What's mature and what's not? Zoe, we gonna talk about it. Number four, is Facebook keeping us connected in a way that we're connected to people that ain't no more relevant no more? You remember Ezel from high school? Nah, I don't remember him. You remember when we used to be able to say that? Nah, he your Facebook friend. You know how to get to him.
Ezel.
Come on. Number five is the last question. Is Tinder and swiping, Bumble, making relationship disposable? How many of y'all out here ghosting people? How many of y'all ain't holding up to the basic standards of being decent? What do I mean? If you set dinner dates, then go to the dinner date and be actively aware. Stop Snapchatting during the dinner date. Let's get it. It's mixed in here, Zoe. So we in here. We gonna start talking. Again, this is Dash Radio, Dash Talk X. Call in at 323-230-4610. We having this discussion. We doing social media. We keeping it light today. As light as we can.
As light as we can.
Are social media and technology breaking down the basic boundaries of social relationship for Americans? And I think for a lot of us, particularly if you didn't come from a two-parent household, but even if you did, what happens is that you're not equipped for the challenges that social media creates for your relationships and for everything around you. And so what ends up happening is that you get pushed into a way of thinking of social media, thinking of apps as a good thing. But let's frame this thing. There's an article, The Sharing Economy Creates a Dickinson World for Workers. It masks a dark problem in the labor market. We got to frame this whole idea of Uber and Lime and all the other things as being good things. And we got to start looking at the sharing economy. Opponents have argued it's creating a virtual human clown of digital serfs that leads to a global race to the bottom for wages and benefits. I'm gonna share more of the article. I just want Zoe to give me a taste of your opinion on that whole thing.
Well, what's interesting about social media, in my opinion, is that it isolates. It's my profile. I specialize this thing to fit and suit me. Like, we really live in the me generation, and technology exacerbates that. Your profile, you get to kind of hide different parts of who you really are. I mean, we already do that anyway in person with one another through the relationship representative. But when you add in this filter, this avatar, this profile, now you get to put a picture of yourself up that's 5 or 10 years old. You know, you get to do that. You get to lie about who you really are. You get to like enter into this different kind of fantasy. And it's real interesting because when people start to meet people, you find that because they've put so much emphasis into this like false identity, that when it's time to actually have a real conversation with someone, they can't even talk. They can't communicate. You know, my kid is a basketball player, and one of the things that a lot of coaches liked about him when he was going through the recruiting process is that he had the ability to communicate, whereas a lot of the recruits were on their cell phones and they were disconnected and disjointed from the conversation. And now we have people with that same kind of ailment trying to relate with each other in relationships.
Again, Dash Radio, Dash Talk X, 323-230-4610. The lines are starting up. Let's take this first caller of the night. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Sarah from Sacramento.
Thank you so much for
Sarah
calling.
from Sacktown.
Sarah, look, I'm going to read a little more of this article because I think one of the things that's happened, particularly for African Americans, but for Americans as a whole, is you've been conned. You've been made to think that sharing apps that got you picking up scooters and charging them in your house or driving around doing Uber is grinding or hustling. But it doesn't come out of grinding and hustling, and it isn't hustling. It is a representation of exploitation. I don't care what you tell yourself. So reading this article further, and I'll put it in the comments so you can actually find it later. The real reasons for the sharing economy are simple. The sharing economy has developed in response to the weak economic environment and a depressed labor market. Workers unable to find work or needing supplemental income use these platforms to earn additional income from their labor and assets. Most workers in the sharing economy would prefer traditional employment. The sharing economy is part of the trends to contractual and temporary work, which mask the real lack of health in the employment markets. What's your thoughts, Sarah?
I really feel that this whole sharing economy is specifically detrimental to African Americans descended of slaves. And if we were going to connect it to the relationship piece, I mean, how are we supposed to maintain healthy relationships, not just romantic ones, but just as mothers, fathers, friends, if we work crazy hours?
Come on. You dipping into my second question already. You dipping into my second question. Go ahead.
So I was talking to my aunt today, and I was having an issue with a guy who was love bombing me. I saw your post on Facebook about love bombing. And I was explaining that I was feeling love bombed by this guy. And for people who don't know, love bombing is when someone who doesn't know you very well becomes very infatuated with you and does things that are kind of excessive romantically very early on in a way that's not very appropriate. And I've been love bombed before, and I was trying to set healthy boundaries with this person. But anyway, to make a long story short, she and I started talking about this, and she said that she knows someone who met someone in an Uber and fell in love in Uber. They were driving, had a good conversation, and then they started living together, and it didn't work out. And I'm like, well, what kind of craziness are we living in as Black people where someone picks you up and y'all develop a conversation and then y'all start dating and living together after a short period of time? Like, this is just madness at this point.
So when I said you're dipping into that second question, you know, we're going to blend number one and number two a little bit. Number two is, what is the consequence of Uber on basic boundaries of work hours and what is considered okay for work to ask of you. You know, Issa Rae did a whole show on this. We saw it on her Insecure. She started dating a dude who fought in her backseat. Got in a fist fight in her backseat. And essentially, at the end of the day, it created a whole bunch of questions about what's good and what's okay and what's not okay in relationship. You know, for me, I look at Uber and you got to look at, coming back to the same article, it says the major financial backers of the sharing economy are not philanthropists. They are Wall Street and Silicon Valley's 1%, related venture capital firms and a few institutional investors. The total amount of capital provided is substantial given the normal 5 to 7 year cycle for investments to actually pay return. The model is exploitive, termed the share the scraps economy by former Labor Secretary Robert Reich. It's just like what's happening is people don't even understand what life is supposed to look like. So you being out at 2 a.m. by a bar to pick up people and basically take on their risk. What do I mean? It's the riskiest time of the night because the cops are out around the bar and also drunk drivers are by the bar and it's late and you don't know where you at. And you're going to do that for $7.
Wow.
And so I bring that and I say, we have that issue. Then also, you don't also have boundaries of who should be let into your space. So anybody that jumps in your car can automatically start talking to you on an intimate level with you looking forward while they sitting behind you you're in the most vulnerable position you can be in as a person.
Wow.
What you think, Zoe?
I just think it's all real crazy, man. Just the time we live in. Relationships, I mean, the root word of it is to relate.
Come on.
And I don't think social media platforms give us the ability to actually connect in the way that we need to in order to relate. Like you first have to find out that the profile was a lie. Then you meet the person, right? And that shows you that the profile was a lie. Then you get to know the person and then you find out that the projection that the person gave you of their true self is still yet another lie. So it just seems like another covering. You know what I mean? So I just think, you know, at the end of the day, like when it comes to relationships, and we talked about this at the relationship roundtable we did in Inglewood this Tuesday, relationships are about the discovery of self. But you can't do that through social media, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You just can't. You know, if people were lying before social media, imagine how those lies get magnified.
Let me say two things. We coming back to Sarah. Sarah, I love that you call in. You one of my regular callers. I remember you.
Thank you.
And so what's a trip is this, Sarah? Does Tinder make it so that we can't see what's wrong with starting to date the person from your Uber ride? Meaning it normalizes not really building out healthy ways to meet people. Is that all intertwined? What does it mean? Let me ask you that question, and then you can blend this in maybe if you can. What does it mean psychologically and socially to have no control over your stuff? What do I mean? They get in your car and tell you what station to put on. This is your car, though. And so, like, what does all this mean to you, Sarah?
I just think it's a boundary issue. If we had these profiles at first that were a little bit more innocuous, like MySpace, then Facebook came into being. But then you started, adding this romantic element with all these dating apps. And Zoe's absolutely right. I feel pressure to create a profile that makes me seem interesting and attractive. But when I meet someone in person, I have to represent this avatar that I created that might not fully be who I am. And I have to maintain that avatar in person, but I also have to maintain that avatar online. And so what happens is these boundaries break down because I'm not being my authentic self. I'm not presenting my authentic self. And I have so many people who are strangers who get to poke and pry into my life and to make judgments on me. And then it's not a wonder that translates to other circumstances in person where you should have boundaries, like your car.
So we don't. So we looking at this thing. I'm sorry. I'm gonna break in this radio. Not me trying to be rude. So we don't have no boundaries in terms of when your boss can contact you because it's like 3 a.m. and Uber's your boss, whether you know it or not. We don't have boundaries on when the person that's using your service can access you because it's 3 a.m. and they in your car. We don't have boundaries in terms of when you see your time and me time and when it starts and when it ends, because Uber lets you work at any time. So what does that do psychologically to us about who we are and our own identities? Oh, you want to say something?
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, a boundary is for what purpose? It's to keep something out, or it's to demarcate where one thing ends and another thing begins, right? So if Tinder and all of these online dating, whatever, sites or whatever, allows you to become this fantasy, if there's a boundary to protect the fantasy, how can you really interface with a real person?
And do you even know how to interface with people?
But
Or do you just know how to interface in projections? And
Yes.
so like it's a trip, because when I look at Uber, I can't help but also look at the new thing that came out of Uber. I don't even know if you can have the scooter line, the scooter bird. They got two companies without Uber, because it's part of the sharing economy. Because on one part you have the actual bird itself, which is the bike, and you can pick it up and pay $7 an hour, which is very high. Just letting everybody know. But then on the other side, do you guys all understand how those things get outside? Well, what happens is an individual can sign up to pick these things up and get paid, I think $4 or $5 to charge this thing overnight at their house, this dirty item, and put it back on the street between the hours of 4 and 7. So, I mean, let's just say, and they're about 30, they look like they're about 25, 30 pounds each. So you got somebody doing 7 of those and making $30 to charge that in their house overnight.
Wow.
What kind of relationship can you have when that's your idea of making money? Sarah, what you think?
If that is your idea of making money, or if that's your idea of a life, first of all, what quality of life are you going to have? And I think this Uber conversation, I really appreciate you and Yvette Carnell constantly having this conversation, because I do think it affects African Americans a lot. I rarely have someone who is a non-Black Uber driver. And, they're friendly, they're lovely, they're all different ages. People work part-time, people work full-time, but I think that it really is changing. It's a slow shift, but I think it's an insidious shift in how we are relating to work and how human beings are relating to work, and how our expectations of work are. And not just the people who are driving for Uber, but the people who are getting inside of these Ubers. Their expectations of what human beings are supposed to be doing is also changing.
Let's come back to the quote from
crazy.
Robert Wright. The model is exploitive, termed the share the scraps economy. The pricing structure requires a depressed economy where abundant, cheap contract laborers are available at the push of a smartphone button. Full-time employees with normal compensation and benefits are incompatible with the basic economics. So you got Uber. Uber's got a new campaign. They putting it up all around the cities. It looks nice. We'll give you a college fund. Just give me actual, like a regular job. And you give me a car that I drive that's not my car. Then you don't have to pay for my college. So you're trying to act like I can win the lottery while I work for you, basically. You don't want to pay me an actual fair wage. You're going to just use the idea that you might send me to college. And understand that some of these drivers have already graduated from college and they drive an Uber. You're going to send me to college as a favor for driving around the city for you at $2 and $3 an hour.
Jeez.
I don't think we all understand the consequence of this on us, on life, on everything. Sarah, thank you so much for calling. Anything last thing you want to say to the audience?
No, I thank you both for doing this show, and keep the conversation going. Thank you.
So again, this is Dash Radio, Dash Talk X. I want to say thank you to everybody that supports the channel and supports this station. Support this station. Zoe has a show right before me. There's several other great shows on this station.
Yeah.
We try to bring a great discussion for you, and you can get this on the Dash Radio app. Also, you can get my show on iTunes or actually here on YouTube. When I say the chat, I'm talking about the YouTube chat. Please also support with the super chat in YouTube, where you can donate to the channel. You can also go to tonetalks.org. Again, Uber, Snapchat, Tinder, Facebook, and Instagram. How American relationship is dissolving under the pressure of apps. We're having the discussion. We went through the first question, and we have to just look at this thing. Are social media and technology breaking down basic relationships? 323-230-4610. Give me your opinion. Give me a dude to call in. I want to hear from the dudes.
Right.
Great call from the woman. Don't be scared. So look. so when we look at Snapchat, does Snapchat and its short videos make people crazily live 8 seconds at a time?
Well, yeah, geez. Just the speed of technology. And then you're going to truncate meaning. What is Twitter now? It was 120 characters, but it's more now. What is it?
We got a young girl in here, right?
Yes. She knows all of this.
Come on, get in there.
She knows
all
of this technology.
Get her on the mic. No, over there. I need you right over there. We gonna join. We gonna jump you in because we need to hear from you.
Deanna Monet.
Come on. We got a young girl in here to talk about this Snapchat.
And she owned it.
Get her headset behind you, Zoe. We on.
You on Snapchat?
Yeah, she on Snapchat right now. She can't focus on the show.
She on everything.
My mama looking at me. We talking.
No.
Look. All right. We plugging her in. Look.
This is crazy.
So when we look at Snapchat, when we look at this thing, does Snapchat and its short videos make people crazily live 8 seconds at a time? Does Instagram do the same by photo? I have an article and I'm going to read it to you and I want your opinion, young woman.
Okay.
She can't even get off the phone. Look.
No, I'm listening to you and I'm trying to figure out how many characters for you to get.
Yeah,
how many
she
characters
is on it right now.
How many characters the show is on?
I'm
So look,
listening.
I'm just messing with you. This is radio.
I get you.
Snapchat streaks in the human ego. This is the article. Maria Lai wrote this. It says, Snapchat streaks only boost people's ego and helps them feel popular. My 16-year-old cousin, obsessed with socializing and who is quite popular, has at least 40 Snapchat streaks. He is always checking his Snapchat and always sending streaks in his free time. When his phone dies, he begs others to log on to their phones so his streaks don't get lost. Most young people have a fear of missing out, which may also be a reason why they are using Snapchat streaks. What's your thoughts?
I do. I think like say for instance there's a festival or something going on. I probably didn't even want to I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even care about going to see Beyonce or going to Coachella until I seen everybody else was there. So I really felt like I was missing out, even though I knew it was going to be streaming. So for me, I can say that is something that I have done, but I have learned that people are only really showing you the highlight of what's going on. They're not really showing you the reality of what's going on in their life.
That's what I said, man.
Come on, we getting into it. But what about the ego? Not only the highlight. I think that's an important part. Mm-hmm. We're going to come back to that. But are they actually at the event if they got a Snapchat during the event?
No, I've actually been making a better conscious decision to, if I do want to capture a moment, probably not posting it so I can still enjoy the moment, but still being able to share it if it's something important to show my family. But you're not really able to live in the moment if you're consistently on your phone, which is why I try, even if I'm going to a concert, to not do it as much, just because I know how irritating it can be. One, with other people that you're around, and then two, just because you really don't even remember the full moment that you were in if you're on your phone to that, like, if it's at a high capacity.
I mean, you did a Snapchat. I seen you do one. I'm just messing with you. Look, Zoe, what you think about Snapchat? I don't got one.
I don't have one either.
I don't even understand.
Well, wait a minute.
I mean, you guys are above the age
Wait.
grade.
Wow.
I don't expect you
taking
to.
shots.
Wow.
So what you think about Snapchat?
Wow, that hurt.
It don't hurt. So you got to get honest.
Actually,
right.
I do have a Snapchat.
You ain't never.
I just don't use it.
You shouldn't. It's inappropriate for you.
What?
Yes, you can buy premium Snapchats now. Do you know that?
What is
this?
Okay, so a premium Snapchat is where females basically they can send you. I think they have males too, because I heard like gay males do it. But it's where you basically pay for like personalized sex videos, so they can say your name.
No, not on the Tone Talk Show.
That's why I'm saying it's inappropriate for you two.
We don't need that.
We got a caller. Let's take a caller.
God.
Not on the Tone Talk Show.
Y'all are not in that age.
What the
caller? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Dana. I'm calling from Pasadena.
We know who you are.
Dana.
Like
Dana from Dana.
Dana, what's your take on this whole topic? Anything you want to say?
I just find it really interesting, but what I do want to say about this culture of social media. Oh, shoot.
Dana, you on radio? We can't have you dropping keys on the ground.
She didn't.
Hello, I'm sorry. I pulled my headset out.
Okay, it's all right.
Sorry about that.
My earring fell off.
Anyway, is that it's disassociating us. We don't really even relate to each other. We have, young people and even older people that do things for likes. They're taking pictures. They're not enjoying whatever event, like Cone said. They're just here, and all we care about is the social media profile. People are being hired based on their social media profile. How many followers do they have? Not on the content or their talent.
No, that's a good point.
We relate to each other differently because of social media. So we're not really having or building those healthy relationships that we should be interested in, because we're interested in how many followers he has, or how many likes he had to this photo, or can I even, follow or befriend my boyfriend or girlfriend on, social media.
Dana, let me get you talking woman to woman. What do you think about what Dana just said as a younger woman?
I think that's accurate. I think sometimes too is relating to what you guys said about boundaries. Sometimes even when you have social media and it relates to relationships, those boundaries aren't fully closed if you guys are still in proximity as far as using social media, because
following each other.
Yeah, it still gives them like some hope in a sense of like, okay, I still see what you're doing. I'm still involved. And depending on the person and how much restraint they have, they might not fully be able to let it go if you haven't like closed that door social media wise.
That's crazy.
Come on.
Let me just say, like, if you Snapchat me a video.
That ain't even how you say it. Tell them how.
That's not how it works.
How do you say it?
So you can send private videos, but generally you have like your story, which is consistently through your day, which is kind of how Instagram stole it from Snapchat. Then you can have conversations via Insta, like I can send you personal videos back and forth, but that's really obsolete. As of right now, mainly everyone's using Insta Story.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Wow.
If I got a pager, can I get a Snapchat? Like a old beeper?
No, that's not gonna work.
All right, just asking.
That's not gonna
Dana,
work.
you remember the beepers? You remember the beepers? You remember when you used to have an R. Kelly headset on and drive down the street? You remember all that?
Wait, no. Remember when we cared what color it was and we used to spell out letters?
Come on. You remember the Nextels? Zoe had a Nextel that beeped every time. The chirps.
I did, actually.
No, I'm going to take you guys all the way back. Remember when you got several pages from your girlfriend and you didn't call her back and she put in the mortuary's number?
So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. We going old school. So this is my thing. When we start dealing with this thing, relationship, the way it used to work is, sister, I want to take you on a date. So I told you that on Tuesday. When I say used to, I'm going back to before 1980.
Mm-hmm.
You agreed or didn't agree on the spot right then. If you didn't agree on the spot, that's fine. But if you agreed on the spot, you're not going to see me again till I'm at your doorstep. You don't get to be in this continual space of maybe. Hold on. Let me finish this point.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm seeing as a result of the ability to text is how it's reformed the ability to Snapchat, the ability to Tinder. It's reformed our ability to commit to the moment and to ourselves before we even get to the other person. Because you said yes, that means yes.
Right.
And you got to understand what yes is. You know what I'm saying, Dana? Give me your take.
Yes, I believe that. I believe that, and yes actually meant that you agreed to go on the date. I non-verbally agreed to pay for the date. I non-verbally agreed to pick you up. I non-verbally agreed to drop you off or take you to your door, and hoping that there's at least a kiss or possibly an agreement for our next date.
Dana already throwing in intimacy. Dana, thanks so much for calling. So, because I got
Dana,
the lines lit. Let me take this next caller. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Marlon from Oceanside.
Thank you so much for calling. I needed a male's voice on this thing. So we looking at this Snapchat thing. You know, I know you done got it before. You out trying to enjoy a movie, and she trying to Snapchat. It's like, who you Snapchatting? My friend got to make sure you safe. I'm safe. What Snapchat got to do with my safety or your safety? We at the movies. What's your take on this whole thing? Is it healthy? Is it unhealthy? What do you think?
It gotta be unhealthy because you think about it, it's like an addiction. If they can't get rid of it, they can't stop doing it. They're addicted to it.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. What's your take on the whole thing? You called in. Give us your spin.
Well, it's messed up, but what else in this life is not messed up anymore? So, well, I would rephrase. Life has always been messed up, but they always find a way to make it more messed up and more exploitative. So I listen to you guys all the time. Zoe with his relationship stuff, and you with all the data. I got read into Thomas Piketty.
Come on.
And the capital in the 21st century. And everything we got is scraps. So if people got scraps, you don't know what real things are, you're going to go into fantasy. And everything is fantasy now. So
let me ask you this. You just brought it to us. Is Facebook and Tinder and Bumble the scraps of relationship? Let's bring it to the table. Is it not the real relationship? It's just the scraps, and you take all that and make bologna. And it looked like a whole piece of meat, but it's really bologna.
It's really bologna.
What you think, Zoe?
Let me just say, before social media, when you dated a woman, you had to have game, or you had to know how to talk. You had to know how to converse, how to communicate, how to connect.
Not convo?
Conversation,
no,
all
but I'm
of
saying it wasn't convo, it was converse.
It was converse.
It wasn't just WYD?
No. You had to know what, you had to talk. You had to express yourself. You had to be engaging. You had to say something that meant something. You know, I remember back in the day, do you remember this old saying, if you can make a girl laugh, if you see her teeth, if you see her gums, you know, she like you.
How old is she? Like, gums?
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Y'all up there.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Y'all.
But I'm just saying.
Don't throw me with Zoe. Go ahead.
She said y'all. Okay, listen. But
I'm
now,
in a different bucket. I'm in the other chicken bucket. Go ahead.
But now, you don't really need to do that. Now, to me, you know, social media is like digital swag. If I can capture a moment where I'm swagged out, or I look fly, or there's an event or something,
in front of somebody else's car.
You know, yeah, it's almost like a picture speaks 1,000 words. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
So what does that do? What does that do in context of race and wealth? If we know that black families don't have wealth, if we know that black men are deflated, what does it do in terms of wealth if all I got to do is show you a minute of me looking like I'm stable?
Well,
I thought about it in terms of, let me tell you one. I was telling Yvette this earlier. Shout out to Yvette Carnell, Breaking Brown. I see you in the chat.
She in the chat. What's up, Yvette?
So you know, you talked about the iceberg, and you talked about it in terms of your personality and your presentation.
Right.
Tip of the iceberg is only a part of you. The most of you is under the water.
Exactly.
Well, what if all of us wealth-wise is the stuff above the water and ain't nothing under it? What if then you just rocking in the waves?
But in terms of dating today, using social media, via social media, what happens is how you present yourself works just like false bait. You know, there's bait out there that looks like a fish. It moves like a fish, but it's not. It's just bait. And that's what a lot of people are doing on social media. They're fishing.
Come on.
And straight snatching people based off of this fantasy.
And you start to, you know, what I'm seeing is you start to see the consequence of race play out in social media. And one of the things that I found is there was a great article that came out about Tinder exposing society's inherent racism.
Oh, here we go.
And you know what Tinder exposed is don't nobody want to date black folks. We swipe on everybody. Black men and black women. We swipe on everybody.
Right.
But everybody else just ain't swiping on us.
What does that mean?
Meaning, what, swipe?
Yeah. She's always calling us old.
I don't have a Tinder.
Oh, so I don't. Yeah, because you just
what does that mean?
You outside of the world.
Everybody
your age got a Tinder.
What do you
but look,
mean?
no, but it's okay if you don't know. Okay. But like, nonetheless, people are actively not choosing black people for a fundamentally large number of reasons. One of those being lack of wealth, without being honest about that. So you're seeking out white people particularly because they're more stable, they have more wealth, they come from generational wealth, and you're not being honest about that's what you're doing.
Black women?
Or other groups.
Oh, okay.
Other groups. Asians, whites, Latinos, actively not choosing black people. They have the data that shows this. This article is called How Tinder Accidentally Exposed Society's Inherent Racism.
Wow.
The 5-year-old dating app shed light on an uncomfortable set of stereotypes. Tinder revolutionized the dating world when it was launched 5 years ago. The dating app's unique design inspired a surge of location-based swipes. But Tinder didn't make anyone racism. It's that the app compiled data on the quick preferences and prejudices. Caller, what did you think about Tinder showing us that people ain't trying to date black folk?
They're broke. Swipe.
Hey, I got nothing to say about that because it's true. If you put all that stuff on there, we got no money. We got this thing that says we're all beasts and rapists back in the old days. And is it still the same going to happen today? Of course they're not going to freaking fuck with us.
Zoe out here giving people old candy. I'm sorry that I don't want none of that. That's that old candy that got a bunch of chalky candy in it. I'm sorry. He gave somebody butterscotch up in here. Don't nobody give out candy corn out their pocket.
I don't like candy corn. Don't do me like that.
Candy corn is good and nasty at the same time. No, but look, I'm sorry, caller. You right. Let me take the next caller because I got a bunch of lines. Thank you so much for calling in. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from North Carolina A&T.
This is my boy right here. Don't leave my man alone. Already.
I didn't say nothing.
Don't offer him no old candy from your pocket.
It do taste a little stale, but
for all of y'all,
you're hungry.
you know that candy, that taffy that's wrapped up in that wax paper. Zoe pull some of that out of his pockets. But look. Carla, what's your take on this whole thing about social media, Uber, Snapchat, Tinder, Facebook, and Instagram dissolving American relationship?
Well, it is dissolving American relationships because social media gives people, allow them to say what they can't say in real life. And I've personally experienced that on social media, Tinder, dating apps, Grindr, Scrub. I've literally seen people don't want to date black folks. Screenshots, no black people, no chocolate, N-word, get out. Sorry, whites only. It's designed. This is how our society functions. And the fact that we as black people are naive to that reality, thinking that people are not aware of the stereotypes, the perception, mass incarceration, and no wealth is just ridiculous. I had to get off it because I was like, this is actually how society feels. I'm swiping these guys, accepting them, but they don't want to reply to me. They want to block me. They don't want me there.
Come on, man. And then let's go back to Uber. Tell me your thoughts, because I know you be coming with that profound, deep conversation. What's your thoughts on Uber and whether it's good or bad? Because, you've heard our opinion. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I mean, I still understand that people use it because, you got cities. Like there was one city in Atlanta that said that we're going to get rid of the buses and just y'all can Uber instead. Because you don't have to pay for the bus. You don't have to provide service. This is about circumventing labor laws and regulation. It isn't about giving opportunity. That's why they can. That's why it's so cheap for the end user, relatively speaking. But go ahead, caller. What's your thoughts?
Well, I used Uber a week ago. Uber is convenient, but when you look at the cost, the marginal cost and the marginal benefits do not exceed the marginal cost. And therefore, you have a lot of black people that believe that Uber is somehow going to give you money, when in reality, if you take the cost and the benefits, technically you are nearly getting by.
Let's get specific. What are the costs that can go into Uber? So you got the car. So I'm about to list it. So you got the car first.
Right.
Now, this already shows us the difference between white folks and black folks. Because a lot of white folks get the car inherited or gifted to them that you're going to drive with. That's already just an advantage we ain't never heard of. So a lot of black folks instead, and not just black folks, but the bulk of black folks start off behind the 8-ball because they go get the car from Enterprise. So you got to pay $800 a month for a Toyota Corolla, right? That you're going to burn out. That you're about to drive 40,000 miles in 2 months. So you got the car, then you got the brakes and the insurance and everything else. Then you got the cost of cleaning it up. Somebody throw up in the car. Somebody bust a hole in the seat. You got all of these. Then you got taxes. Because they give you the money up front, but you're supposed to pay your taxes later. We not used to that. We work regular jobs. You take the money out of that I'm supposed to pay, and then it's all good. Now you got to do those taxes later on, so you got to pay somebody to do your taxes because you don't know how to do those kind of taxes. You get what I'm saying? What do you see, caller? Marginal cost.
I see the same thing. Not even factoring that if your car breaks down, if you have a tire broken out, if your car engine shuts down, these are all factors that you have to consider. Not understanding the distance, the time that it takes, not mentioning the fact that do you have another side job, because what happens if you can't Uber anymore? What's your next option?
They burn you out.
Overall consideration and pondering about how deep this is and not be at a surface level, but get to a subterranean, unfathomable level of understanding the cost and the benefits of economics, personal finances of Uber. And I don't think we are at that point yet.
Let's add one more thing. Black folks have never done well in the private market. Number one employer of black folks, post office. We mostly work in government. So all of a sudden, we're going to do well in private sector, individual judgment with no protections. What do I mean? You become a master Uber driver, but two white people back to back decide to give you 2 stars.
A master. Wait a minute. Is there such thing? I'm sorry. A master.
Yeah. There's people that really know how to get the money out and how to be where the Beyonce concert is.
Like all those time zones and heat zones.
They know all that. They got a whole map of it in an old Thomas guide.
Damn.
So look, you become that person, and this thing has no labor protections for you. Meaning there isn't a recourse to say no. Those reviews are wrong. This is what actually happened. No, you just deactivated. You got the car still from Enterprise though. $700 a month.
$700.
You still got all the consequences on your body, on your back, you still done signed up for an apartment. You still done put your kid in school under the reliance that you're gonna have this quote unquote job. But you don't have any labor protections. Caller, thank you so much for calling. Any last thing you want to say on this?
Yes. Private sector without regulations is suicide. If you look back at history from the Depression, from the Gilded Age, you read the labor laws that were not fair. You had feces all over the place, people in unsafe conditions, people dying, black folk having jobs, and as soon as the white folk come, black folk get their jobs done. There was a phrase called NRA, called Negroes Robbed Again. You get your money robbed every time by the private sector. And unless you have governments that has rules and regulations that allow you to play fair, you're going to be bait all day. And when they take a bite out of our behind, it's going to be too late.
Thank you so much for calling in. Yvette just made a point. Having Uber as a side hustle is having no life quality at all. And I have to agree. Let's go to question 4. Question 4 is Facebook keeping us connected in a way that's no longer relevant to people that are in our lives from high school and from junior high. And we just not letting go. So we just have this shadow. We just have this shadow of a life. Does it keep a long trail of life, whereas you used to cut off transitions and leave them high school people behind? Leave them college people or them old job people. Is this what's going on? And are we doing it for a healthy reason? Or are we doing it to look into people's life? You know how many young women have told me, I don't really use mine to put pictures up. I just watch other people's life.
It's funny that you say that.
What do you mean?
Because my dad, he's not watching, so it's fine. Me and my dad were just talking last night, and he was telling me something about Facebook, but he doesn't have a Facebook. I'm like, how do you know this? He was talking about something that's on my page, but I'm not active on there at all. And I was like, so how do you know? So I kept badgering him. He was like, oh, I have a fake page. I was like, why?
What?
This is my point.
He was like, I have a fake page. And I was like, for what? He was like, well, I just like stalk like all my, well, he didn't say stalk. I'm using the word stalk. He was like, I watch all my old high school girlfriends, like, but I don't want them to be in my business. He was like, I just want to make sure they don't look as good as they used to. And I was just like, why?
I mean, this is what I'm saying. That's
voyeurism.
This is not.
My dad is
But I'm also going to, that's not healthy.
No, it's not.
And I think that a lot of people are doing this unhealthy use of social media to hide their own personality and social flaws.
Sure.
Come on, Zoe.
I mean, come on, sure. Like, if they wouldn't have created social media, they would have found another way to do that. I mean, that people have issues, people have problems. I think it's okay if you have quality relationships. Like one of my best friends, I've known him since I was 12, right? We don't even follow each other on social media, but we homies, right? Yeah. We still talk. But if you know people that you had a quality relationship with, it's okay to connect with them on social media. But the way yo daddy doing it is all wrong. That's all wrong. I got a fake page monitoring
and I don't think, and understand this, I don't think it's just your father. I think that's a great.
It's not. I think
I don't think your father's a stalker. I'm telling you that. I don't want you to think I think your father's a bad man.
What I do think is I think it's crazy because at his age, there's younger guys in my age group as well doing that, but in a different form. As far as like, it might not be a fake page, but they are still monitoring your actions to see if they still have accessibility. He didn't say those words, but I know that's what it is. Like, you want to still see if you have access to these women, even though you're doing whatever.
Yeah, come on. Let me get to this last question. So look, we got a caller on the line. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, Tom?
What up? Let me bring this question in. But before we bring the question in, Dash Radio, Dash Talk X, please go to the YouTube, use the super chat, support this show, tonetalks.org. And I just want to make sure I show you what Zoe had. He has Smarties. You know, y'all remember this old ass candy?
Hey, I thought you was taking that because you wanted it.
I'm just showing y'all because I said it earlier. Y'all need to see this shit. This shit ain't healthy no more. We know this ain't healthy.
Hold on. I got this candy from the kitchen upstairs at Dash. I didn't buy this candy.
Zoe be giving these out at trick or treat. Kids be throwing it back at him. Look, number 5. What is that? That's candy?
Come on, man.
Number 5. Is Tinder and swiping making relationships disposable? Are people ghosting because they don't understand what's appropriate? You know, this swiping came about, and in some senses, it can be a tool to expand circles. But I think it requires a health in yourself and in our identity that far too many don't have. So you hear people doing it out of boredom. You hear people doing it out of need just for adoration. You hear people doing it and then not being responsible to other people, let alone responsible to themselves as a result. And they think that they can come out of that and have healthy relationships despite it. Now, I'm not judging the use of it because I think all these tools have some use, I think, in moderation. But what I'm more so looking at is, are we using these things healthy? Are we healthy before we start? Did we just jump out of a relationship 2 weeks ago and we're on this thing?
Hey, man, it helps people get through it.
I think there's security boosters for some, depending on how hard the situation that you were in that you're trying to come out of.
What's your thoughts, caller?
Yeah, Tone. It's crazy you're talking about this. What's up, y'all? I'm working Postmates right now, and I heard this show, and I said, I think I need to call in. I'm actually in Brentwood, one of the, I guess, highest net worth zip codes in America.
Yeah.
And I'm over here, like, literally picking up the scraps. Like, the only reason I'm over in this neighborhood is because they give out good tips once in a while.
You're a master Postmater.
Terrible. It's terrible. I mean, like, all these apps I work, the Uber, the Lyft, the Postmates, the DoorDash, got deactivated from Instacart. You know, like, I've run the gamut, and I can tell you right now, none of this is good.
None of it's good.
Basically, I put in an application, and I don't hear anything. It's worse than Tinder. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really just walk up and get a job like you used to. So I'm forced to go back to these apps, and trust me as hell, I'm trying to get.
Let me ask you this. Are you on Postmates and Tinder at the same time?
Yes.
You can't be on both, bro.
I was about to say, like, how
you giving your money away? How this work economically? So economically, we playing the dice game. What we gonna do? Take the tips? Okay, go ahead.
I was on Tinder for a long time. You know, I was like in a relationship, and then afterwards, I was like, I don't need to. But recently, really.
You breaking up, bro? Because you in them heels trying to. Dang, this was a great call, but it's breaking up, bro. So we're gonna have to. Hopefully,
That's
you can call back.
That he's broke.
You know, in
one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the world.
But he gonna get his swipe on, his internet working, his Wi-Fi working.
He down the street from LeBron.
So look. This show was about Uber, Snapchat, Tinder, Facebook, and Instagram. For me, when I look at Tinder, when I'm I'm gonna let Zoe end off on it. The swiping isn't healthy if it's done in an unhealthy start. Meaning, are you developing yourself before you start this thing? Do you have a personal goal in mind? Do you want to treat people with a decency? All those are elements. But if you're coming in there out of pain, then all you're going to get out of there is pain.
Sure.
And all you're going to give out is pain.
So social media, Tinder, and all of these other, I guess, contrivances, right? Social media is like fire, right? Fire in and of itself isn't evil, right? Or bad. It's the wielder. If you take some fire, you can warm a baby's bottle, you can cook a meal, you can warm a house, or you could burn down a whole neighborhood.
Come on.
Right? Social media is the same way. It's going to accentuate the flaws in you. You think you can cover the flaws, but no, it's going to exacerbate those flaws. It's like money. You really see who people really are when they get some money. You get what I'm saying? Social media is no different.
Come on, Zoe. So look, this is the thing about wielding it. We got the end users wielding of it, but then we got Mark Zuckerberg's wielding. And so what I'm saying is that I think most of it is wielded by people that are capitalists that don't have good agenda for us as a society.
Right.
And that's part of the problem. The agenda isn't focused on connecting us. Like Facebook, when it started, had a good purpose, but then as it's grown, it's kind of lost that focus.
Right.
I don't think Uber ever had a good purpose when it started. And so it's shown that it's about exploitation. I'm saying to you that he's right. We got to be focused and understand everything that's going on. We got to read articles, know what you're watching, know that how to talk to your pops. If he do that, maybe you need to sit him to the side. This isn't healthy, pops. Eat some Smarties instead. I just want to say this is Tone Talks. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Zoe Williams, you want to tell them where they can find you?
Sure. You can follow me on Instagram at Deanna Monet. That's about it for right now.
And then for you, Zoe?
Hey, man, I am ZoeWilliams.com. Go pre-order your copy of The Holographic Relationship.
And ToneTalks.org to subscribe and donate. And please share this video. We going to get it popping again. Thank you for tuning in to Tone Talks.